Well, hello, welcome back to the Lack Factor. I'm Daniel. Today I'm riding on the Cog Railway, which goes up to Mount Washington in New Hampshire. And let's start out with a bite to eat in their restaurant here. So when I arrived, the place looked kind of closed, I guess I would say. I don't know, it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Their last ride up, I believe, was in a couple hours. So I was expecting to find it a little bit busier, but there was not a lot of stuff left over. Everything that was here is kind of pre-packaged, but no fresh stuff. I was kind of thinking maybe some fries, nuggets would have been kind of nice, but there was nobody cooking. There was no way to get hot food anymore. This butternut squash soup sounded pretty good, but it was actually empty. There was nothing left in the soup warmer. And I don't actually know if that had milk or not. I'm guessing it probably might, but I didn't even check because they didn't have any more. All these pastries, unfortunately, all have milk in them. Let's take another look around this place. It looks like there would be tons of stuff that you could have, from coffees to teas, sodas, all kinds of stuff. A lot of signs about $5 minimum on a credit card, so make sure if you do use a credit card that you are spending at least $5 for that. Sadly, this coffee was cold. I was going to take a cup, but it was not hot. Unfortunately, they were not making any more coffee. I asked the one person who was, I think, working, and they said there was no more coffee, that was the end of it. So I ended up going with some hot water and having a tea. But it also feels, I don't know, maybe to me like a convenience store. And I don't know exactly why you would need a convenience store with a train that goes up the mountain. But I guess maybe some folks hike up there and then come back down and need to put some stuff in their bag. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I was kind of perplexed about that. If you know, let me know in the comments down below. The place was just very quiet for what I thought would be a busy day. Feels like we're almost like the only ones here. But it is a very cool place. Nice and nostalgic. Yeah, the world's first cog railway, which I think is a pretty cool claim to fame. They have this little museum up here that you can kind of walk around. You have to eat your food in the dining room where I just showed you. You're not supposed to bring food into the museum, but kind of just explains what a cog railway is and what makes it kind of cool. So it's always interesting to figure out why you want to do what you want to do. And I waited so long. I've actually lived in New England my whole life, and I'd never been up on the cog. So I think my parents took me when I was like 3, but I actually don't remember. So I thought I would check it out again, and of course, why not go in the winter, right? But as you'll see, we can only go a quarter of the way up the mountain today, unfortunately. We cannot go the whole way. If you want to go the whole way up the mountain on the cog, you would come back in the spring and summertime. That's when they can bring you all the way up to the summit. Pretty wild to think that when people worked on building this is how they would get up and down the mountain for their lunch breaks and when they wanted to go back home again. Let's go ahead and get on the train. It's Pink. She's a beauty. I guess she's one of the newer coaches that they have in the fleet. Let's go check it out, huh? Climb the mountain.
Railway. And took a very special train to figure out how to get up these steep grades. A conventional railway back then couldn't get up the steep grades we're going to be climbing today. And even today, if you put a brand new Amtrak locomotive on tracks, it still can't make it up this mountain. It works on the basis of rails and wheels and friction, which doesn't generate anywhere near the power needed to get up the steep grades of Mount Washington. So let me get these folks on. Filtered. And it's a very famous river, by the way. The Ammonoosuc River begins on top of the top of the Ammonoosuc Ravine, and up there are the Lakes of the Clouds. They're the highest lakes in the eastern United States. And that's where it originates. It comes flowing down here to our base station, then over to Littleton, New Hampshire, and on to Vermont, where it empties into the Connecticut River. Then it flows all the way down the Connecticut River, emptying into Long Island. It all began with a gentleman named Sylvester Marsh, who was born about 30 miles south. And he grew up being an entrepreneur, one of these whiz kids, way ahead of his time. And then he ended up going to Boston, where he got an engineering degree. And again, he continued to be one of these off-the-wall entrepreneurs. Everybody said, let's go left, he'd go right. He established a reputation for figuring out how to do the impossible. So once he graduated, rather than coming back to agricultural New Hampshire, he jumped on a train and headed to Chicago. No plan. And one day he's looking out at the plains and all the livestock running around, and he decides, again out of the blue, I think I'll start up my own meat packing operation. So
do you love this ceiling as much as I do?
Within
It's
about
amazing.
5 or 10 years, he was a multi-millionaire. He actually invented the whole meat packing industry in Chicago, the stockyard, what he was going to do next. And one day he took a hike to the summit of Mount Washington. Get up there, you can see 100 miles in every direction. So he came down and was telling all his friends about it. And I said, boy, everybody should have the opportunity to enjoy what he had the experience to enjoy when he hiked up there. And then out of the blue, he says, you know, I think I'm going to build a railroad to the summit of Mount Washington. Now, when he announced that, everybody thought he was a lunatic. He didn't see anything. You're going to watch me guide him into the stop position so that he can step down without getting injured. So once we do that, I'll let you off the train. I'm going to hang around with you. I'll point out some of the...
Mount Washington stands at just over 6,000 feet tall, making it the tallest mountain in the Northeast. Today's COG only brings us up to Womach Station, which is where we get off here, which is just shy of 4,000 feet. If you want to go higher than that, you got to come back in late spring, kind of early summer, in order to go all the way up to the summit. Pretty cool. They bring marshmallows that you can toast up, and even some hot dogs are available for purchase. I believe you had to get them down in that shop, I think, but I didn't actually check into it because I didn't want one. There's a little hut up here that they provide hot chocolate, coffee, and tea. And the coffee up here was actually better than the coffee down at the base station, which was very exciting. It's a nice little treat, especially to warm up the hands because it is chilly today. Even though the mountain is not completely covered in snow, it is cold out. So it's nice to have a nice hot beverage, just kind of relax and stand over by the fire. Ooh, it feels good. The marshmallow toasting is especially fun. Some of the folks, and especially the kids, had like 8 on their stick, and they loved it when it just caught on fire and started burning.
All aboard. I did it right at the right time.
Nós não tiramos nenhuma foto. Quem gostou?
I think a lot of people put their marshmallows around. Yeah. Like crazy. They keep the chairs around. Eles tiraram as cadeiras.
Agora não é o mesmo da gente.
So where are we now? We're in the front. Oh, we're in the front now. Yeah, we're supposed to be in the front.
Vai bem.
Do you want to be there?
Ai, não sai aqui, ó.
Okay, this is going to ask you. Okay.
Same speed as what going down?
Yeah, 5 miles an hour.
Oh, but this was 14.
No, we just like.
Still here, aren't we? 14?
How much speed?
Yeah, 14. 14.
Oh, gravity.
You want me to go over there?
100
Yeah,
miles an
yeah.
hour probably. No, what's going on right now, we don't have conventional brakes. They burn out long before we come back. So there's 4 cogs underneath the engine. On the way up, he engaged the drive cogs. He literally climbed up this mountain like a bulldozer. And right now he has the 2 braking cogs engaged. So this engine is holding us back from rolling down the mountain. It's a 650 horsepower John Deere Marine diesel engine, delivering 22,000 foot-pounds of torque to our cogs. So that's way more power than we ever need to go up and down this mountain. So again, as I mentioned, John has several sets of brakes. Even though we've been at this 155 years, it looks nostalgic. This is a real high-tech railway today. I have 4 sets of brakes in here. I mentioned the air hose. John takes off, the air hose pops, we stop in a nanosecond. The air hose pops, there's no air. To stop us, I hit this red button over here. As you brake, but I can actually shut the engine off in a nanosecond. If I hit this button, John's engine stops and he wonders what happened. Now John's also driving this with something that looks like a joystick. And he has to have his hand on it at all times and his thumb on the button. And if he were to fall asleep and let go of that, we stop in an instant. So again, we get a lot of safety measures to keep you all in good hands here. This has come a long way in the last 155 years. It wasn't always that safe. It's kind of a Rube Goldberg operation, you know, when we first started out. Now at this point, I like to suggest things you might want to do while you're up here. Would you guys like me to make some suggestions?